Hey guys, welcome back to the Horns Up podcast. It's me, Dan. Just a quick update for you before we get started. In our headline section this week, we go into some news about Chimaira. At the time of recording, it was just that everyone in the band, save for Mark Hunter, had decided to leave. But go figure, the very next day after recording, Hunter decided to end the band himself. So Chimaira is no more. We are slightly outdated, but obviously didn't have time to go back and re-record an entire segment, so there you have it. Acknowledging here and now that Chimaira is done, even though on the recording we sound a little bit behind the times. Another quick thing you want to keep your eyes out for whatever reason, Corey's mic will time out every now and again and just send him into a very low register, almost like he's talking into a yak back. If you 90s kids remember what I'm talking about there. So yeah, he will be a little bit distorted at times. He will be talking down like this at times, but it usually comes back to normal right away. So fair warning, there's your heads up, and yeah, thanks again for stopping by. Here's episode 20, and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's episode 20 of the Horns Up podcast, your weekly catch-up on all things metal. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming to you as always from Brooklyn. With me, coming to us this week from Yari Manpa's as yet unbuilt custom recording studio. He is on the very foundations of this mythical place. My good friend and co-host, Corey Butterworth. Corey, how's it going?
Well, this place doesn't exist, and therefore neither do I. But, working on that, I guess. This actually reminds me of something. Now that you bring up this whole Yari Manpa's non-existent studio, did you by chance happen to stumble upon Metal Sucks today and see the psychoanalysis based on your favorite band?
I did not. Enlighten me.
Okay. So they basically just listed a bunch of popular metal bands, and they said, if you listen to these guys, this is what you have. Like, for example, if you listen to Metallica, you're in denial. If you're a fan of Slayer, you fear change.
Very accurate.
So, it goes along these ways. If you're a fan of Amir, you're a sadist. And it gets to Winter Sun. If you're a fan of Winter Sun, you suffer from delusions of grandeur, which is just so perfect.
Yes, I can fully agree with that. Who posted that? Was that Axel or Vince?
This was Axel, obviously. And the best one was the very last one says, if you're a fan of Thy Art is Murder, you're mentally handicapped.
Oh boy, shout out to our friends at Metal Sucks for always telling it like it is.
A+, boys, A+.
That is great. Well, yeah, it's good to be back. We had a bit longer of a layoff than we normally do. A bit of a snafu with last week's episode, which was supposed to be episode 20, but we ran into some complications. But what have you been up to? What's been going on?
I don't know. I mean, that's I guess that's the way it goes when this isn't a paying job yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see what the hell's happened in the last 2 weeks. I mean, there was a Tough Mudder, which I can't remember if we talked about or not. I feel like we did.
We left off episode 19. You were going into it on Zero Training.
Right.
Yeah. How'd it go?
Shit, that's right. It went well. I mean, I got electrocuted in the face to the point of knocking myself unconscious, but besides that, it was good. I guess I get to tell this story again.
Other than that, it was
this
a peach.
time to an audience. Right. No, I got through my third one. Our whole team made it through, which is great, but the last obstacle, which basically is just you running through a lot of electrical wires because why not pain? One of
because
them happened
British
to get me
Special
right
Forces actually do that in the field.
Right, of course, why not? Guys, go run to that bunker. By the way, get electrocuted on the way. Yeah, whatever. So we were running through these electrical wires, and one just happened to get me right underneath my left eye. And all I remember is running through these things, and all of a sudden lying face first in the mud. I don't know how it got there. I don't know what happened. All I know is that when I eventually crossed the line and started rinsing my face off, it really, really hurt underneath my eye. I can put two and two together. But aside from that, it was awesome.
Nice. And your whole team finished the race.
They did.
Nice.
They did. Some better than others, but that's how it goes with a bunch of people on your team. But it was fun, as it always is. I always say I'm never going to do one again because it sucks, and then I always do another one. So, whatever.
What's life without a little pain every now and again?
Oh yeah, just a little masochism. Has never done anybody really any real harm aside from the harm it does to them.
These are words, and we are
today.
using them.
Barely ever.
Oh boy,
God.
Well, let's move into some headlines. We've got a lot of good news to report this week. Kicking things off right off the bat, let's start with a bang. Devin Townsend, my Lord and Savior. I won't say ours because I know yours is Nurgle.
Correct.
But Devin Townsend has announced Z2. The sequel to 2007's landmark album Ziltoid the Omniscient will be coming out on October 28th, the same day as At the Gates. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a fun day for metal. Halloween Tuesday. Like, dear Lord.
Halloween Tuesday is way better than Nolan Wednesdays.
Because I don't have to stay the fuck home. Bitch.
Exactly. God, I can't believe that just popped in my head. Anyway, I think anything preceding a day of the week is going to make that happen, really, at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is awesome. I mean, this is freaking awesome. I understand it's a double album, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be half half Ziltoid, half continuing that saga, and then half Devin Townsend project, which I'm all for because DTP was amazing.
Amazing, yeah. This is gonna be one of those weeks that we've happened to have the past couple of months. There have been a couple where there's almost like too many good albums released to really, handle for one episode, and this is gonna be one of those. Yeah. Between At the Gates and Z2, it's gonna be a lot.
We're looking
of fun.
at two landmarks right there, and then if you have smaller stuff, more underground stuff coming out, we're gonna be a little bit hard pressed that week. But
yeah, exactly.
Whatever, we'll get through it.
But
we'll get through it like it's gonna be this big chore. Of course, it's gonna be. It's Devin's second album of 2014, following Casualties of Cool. He's been a busy guy. Both of these were made with proceeds from his ridiculously successful crowdfunding campaign earlier this year. I can't remember how much he exceeded his goal by, but let's just assume it was 8,000%.
It was excessive.
Yeah.
It was more.
Yeah. And he also, in announcing Z2 today, he also confirmed plans to perform the album in full at London's Royal Albert Hall in April 2015. You may recall he did the Retinal Circus show was at the Roundhouse, I believe. This is an even bigger deal because this is a place that everyone from the Royal Albert Hall is a place that everyone from Opeth to The Who, you name it, have played there. Yeah. This is a legendary venue, and Devin is gonna rock it. Why the hell does London get all the nice Devin things?
All right, well, fuck London. How about why the fuck does Europe get nicer things than us? Like in general, that continent just does better.
Yeah,
it really does.
We should.
I mean,
we need to move there.
We must really like shitty music here. We must really like crappy music in this country.
Yeah. I mean, well, when you have people like Ariana Grande topping the charts or Miley Cyrus, I mean, shit. Come on.
I'm glad I don't know who that first person was, and I wish I didn't know who the second person was.
Yeah.
There you have it, world.
Yeah. It sucks. But London and Europe, enjoy your nice Devin things. I guess I am even more excited that I just bought those Devin and Animals as Leaders tour tickets. I imagine we're going to be getting quite a bit of Z2 material and DTP material on that tour, and
hopefully not Planet of the Apes. Sorry, Devin.
God, seriously.
I'm obviously.
I was so lukewarm on that song when it first came out, but now I'm at the point where, like, if I never heard it again, it'd still be too soon.
Yeah, just like swap it with at least Sumeria or something. I mean,
seriously, there are so many better songs on that album that you could go with. Literally all of them.
Songs on the album. It's like, the other 5 are great. Yeah, no, but I'm pumped for that show. I bought that ticket, as you know, a couple weeks back, so that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll see.
Very, very excited for Devin Townsend things. Again, the album October 28th, the tour, he'll be coming around in December. Good stuff on the horizon. Next up on our list, we have a bit of unfortunate news if you're a Chimaira fan. Show of hands, I think there are only 4 of you. So,
not listening, just in general.
I didn't know Chimera was still a thing, but evidently they are, or were.
I didn't even know Emil Wurstler was in Chimera. More on that in a second. But yeah, I didn't either. Like, this was a band I thought existed pretty much only from like 2000, 2007.
Yeah.
Like, really. And I was way off.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be very existent anymore. Apparently, only vocalist Mark Hunter is left, as literally everyone else in the band has committed some sort of mass exodus. It started...
Not the first time it's happened, though.
Yeah, this is true. Started on Tuesday. Guitarist Emil Wurstler, who Corey knows from Doth, left the band, issued his own statement. It seemed very professional. It seemed like he was just moving on to do different stuff.
Right.
Fine. Then the very next day, Wednesday, guitar player, bass player, keyboardist, drummer, all follow suit. And if you look at their statement and dissect their statement, you start to see some things that kind of stick out. Their statement says, at one point, for us, this was a great stepping stone. They later called Chimera a platform to continue playing our music when our collective bands, Doth, Bleed the Sky, and Dirge Within, either ended or went on hiatus. I mean, did any of these guys see this as a long-term thing?
I don't think so. And I think it's a little bit of a slap in the face to Mark Hunter a little bit. I mean, I can't say much for their music in any way, shape, or form, because it's just mostly from lack of familiarity. But I have a feeling, just from what I've heard, it wouldn't be anything on my alley anyway. But at the same time, this is a guy, like I mentioned earlier, there was another mass exodus back in 2011 when everybody bailed. He pressed on. He got some new guys to fill in, and it worked. Emil is an extremely talented guitarist, so he obviously found some good people to fill those spots. So this is obviously a long-term thing for him. This is like his project. This is his band.
Right.
And everybody's kind of just like, yeah, it was a nice little project, and I'm sure it's just like, what the fuck, guys? So I feel like it's a little bit of a dick move. I really do.
Yeah. I would feel bad for Mark, but I've never really been a fan of Chimera, so I'm like, that sucks, but whatever. It's hard to say exactly what broke the camel's back. From what I was reading, it looks like the tour they just wrapped up. They went around with The Plot in You, Upon This Dawning, Silence the Messenger, and our boys in Allegaon. That tour apparently didn't draw that well. It was mostly West Coast and Midwest and stuff like that. And
there's your issue.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't know, that it's speculation as to whether that was the deciding factor, but at any rate, Chimera is maybe no more. Certainly no more than Mark Hunter at this point. So we will have to see what happens there.
Yep.
Next up on our list, we have a bit of a feud going on with a couple of bands that we are interested in. Triptykon and At the Gates. News emerged earlier this week via a Tom G. Warrior, Triptykon frontman, Facebook post saying, "The amount of contempt I feel for At the Gates is beyond description." So you see these two label mates on Century Media. They're going to be touring Europe together in December. And Tom and Triptykon were apparently invited to do a one-off gig at this art festival in their native Switzerland, independent of the tour.
Right.
The tour is already going through Switzerland. And if we take Tom at his word, the dates apparently wouldn't conflict. But At the Gates kind of put the kibosh in it. Apparently there's a clause in the tour contract that prevented Triptykon from accepting the offer, and Tom's pissed. So
rightfully so.
I don't really know. I don't really know who's to blame. I don't know if At the Gates is directly preventing this from happening, if this is just all legal bullshit. But
honestly, it's probably the latter. I don't know. I would hate for this to be At the Gates is... they have some kind of issue with this, because I see no harm in it, really. Obviously, I know very little about what's going on, aside from what you just informed us about. But that would suck. I mean, really, why can't we have this tour going in a completely different direction?
Again, Europe!
What the shit? Anywho, proceed.
Well, we're American, and thus we can't have nice things.
Right.
But the interesting thing that I saw here, if you read on in the comments, Tom goes on to say he never even wanted to do the tour with At the Gates, but rather that it was a band decision.
Right.
And I sort of saw this. I sort of saw Triptychon as like a glorified Tom G. Warrior solo project. I had no idea that this was kind of going to be a democracy.
Right.
But I think
no, that was my understanding as well. Triptychon was basically Tom G. Warrior wants to keep writing music. I need you guys to also play music. Kind of like how Winter Sun started. Let's remember, Winter Sun was basically just Yari doing his thing with friends, and now it's actually like a band. So this, I mean, I kind of saw this as sort of like that. So I'm surprised he's actually. I mean, granted, I think it's respectful of him to make it, to make decisions based on the band and on himself. But I did not think it was that much, like you said, a democracy between them. Yeah, really interesting.
Well, and he I think his words were, "This is not a Tom G. Warrior dictatorship." So, more power to them. Hopefully, this tour doesn't get too awkward. Right. Although I don't really know how it could not be awkward at this point. But yeah, we'll have to see what develops there. I don't believe there's been a statement from At the Gates at this point, but if and when we hear anything, we will certainly keep you posted either on here or in our quickies. So moving on, our final news item of the week. We had the lowest... Last week, we had the lowest cumulative total album sales in a single week ever in the history of the SoundScan era. Of course, this dates back to 1991. The Billboard charts revealed total album sales, all albums sold in all genres across the country for the week at 3.97 million. This is the lowest weekly total in the SoundScan era and the first time that total weekly sales have numbered less than 4 million. In fact, there have only been 5 weeks this year with combined album sales of more than 5 million. It's basically a continuation of what we already know. The music industry is dying, but kind of shocking to see numbers like that. I mean,
it's impressively low, if that's a term, I
mean, it wasn't all that long ago. I mean, I'm thinking like back to, even in middle and parts of high school where artists, I don't want to say bands, but it was mostly pop artists, but you'd have new albums coming out that would sell, 1 million plus in their first week. And now we are struggling to hit the 4 million mark for all albums.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a confirmation that I feel like that streaming is the future.
What was it we saw? Was it I think it was Denmark. It was some kind of excessive percentage of
Denmark. Yep.
60, right?
63% of all music revenue in Denmark comes from streaming. Of course, they were one of the earliest one of the earliest countries, one of the earliest music industries to adopt streaming and to get on board with Spotify and things like that. But that's the way of it. I mean, people are getting their music through Spotify, through Beats. If they're not all there in the head, they're getting their music through Amazon Music. A lot of industry types complain about how people are using free accounts on Spotify and these sites and whatnot. And ultimately, if the music industry is to come to rely on streaming, we're going to have to convert those free users to paid users. Absolutely. But
right. And I will be falling into that category myself soon enough. I mean, there's just enough out there that I want to listen to without having to buy that I would like to not listen to with, interrupt with commercials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But here's an idea. If you want to convert the free users to paid users, don't make the full albums available on the free versions of the sites.
Right.
Keep the ads, but also only make, 2 or 3 songs available from a given album and not the singles, not the songs that everyone is going to want to listen to.
Right,
make people pay for that shit. And then they will. If they want their music, and that's how they're getting it, they'll pay for it.
Right, exactly, and I will. I mean, the thing is, you know me. I mean, part of the reason I've put off Spotify this long, at least not so much the fact I can listen to these songs and all the songs and these albums and all the albums in their entirety. I mean, I still go out and buy the CDs of bands I actually give a shit about because
Sure.
I do, and I can. It's honestly just as easy to walk to my shop 2 blocks away than it is to, fucking buy online or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's like, you need to do something like that. I mean, obviously, when iTunes started doing their thing, they would give you like a sample of each song. It was like 30 seconds or something, and that was it. They need to implement something like that. I like the idea of a few songs, a quarter of the album, a fifth of the album, something like that. Like you said, no singles, whatever. And eventually, people will realize that, I mean, shit, $10 a month or whatever. It's a buck every 3 days. Nothing, obviously. For unlimited music, it's stupid to not go through with something like that. I mean,
for as extensive a catalog as they have available too.
Right, exactly.
I mean, they don't always have all the
growing.
underground shit that we listen to, but I mean, it's
we're not going to be able to find that in our stores either, anyway. So what difference does it make?
Right.
I mean, I would like to see, honestly, what I would like to see going forward, if this is any way trackable, and obviously it is, but I'd like to see, as these album sales per week are reported to us, I would like to also see the number of Spotify premium members. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See how they relate to each other. Because it's really interesting to see if that number grows and album sales decline. First of all, we would expect something like that. And, also, it doesn't necessarily show the depth of the music industry as we may think it to be. It's just given to us in different ways.
It's a seismic shift.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, it's change with technology and at an incredible rate, and you just gotta be on it. You really do. There's a reason things are becoming faster and better. It's because faster and better.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen. Like really.
Of course, knowing the collective global music industry, they won't really get on board the streaming as standard bandwagon to measure success until I don't know, 5-10 years from now.
Yeah. I could probably find a way to blame the oil industry on this one too. I think I'm going to refrain from such. But you're right; it'll be delayed for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, interesting stuff on the headlines front. That'll wrap us up for that segment. Let's move into some new releases because we've got quite a few of those to discuss. Kicking things off with one that, I know you and I were both very excited about. The new one from Solstafir, Otta, just came out this week. I know you had it on pre-order. Did your pre-order arrive yet? Or
It did ship. It shipped yesterday. So it shipped on the release date, which is kind of what I expected.
Hooray for not Blake Judd.
Right, exactly. I got the shipping confirmation yesterday, so I'm sure it'll be at my place tomorrow or... we'll say Thursday or Friday, because obviously this will be airing beyond those dates. Solstafir is a band I discovered, I think it was within the last calendar year, and it was honestly just because of MDF. I checked them out, really took a liking to them. They're different. They were out there. They presented a really unique sound, and I bought Svartir Sendar, which I thought was an incredible album, and I gotta say, man, this Ota thing, I read a lot of reviews for it, mostly good. But I'm always skeptical of that because bands aren't going to post bad reviews to their websites, their social media outlets, etc., etc. But shit, this album was great.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really good. I mean, it easily jumped itself right into my discussion of top albums for the year. No questions asked. Heavy? No, not really. Epic?
I don't even know if it's fair to call them really metal at this point.
Nah, not really. Even Svartir Sendar would have questioned that label, really.
Yeah.
It's like
they're sort of like post-rock, like maybe post-metal, but
yeah, they're like doing the Anathema Alcest things, except in a little bit of a different direction, but the same kind of feel to them nowadays. Or I guess you could say Alcest based on most recent album release.
Sure.
But it's just like, I don't know what it is about these guys. I mean, I could go track by track and just talk about how they ebb and flow and how the songs can just pull you and push you in different directions, which they do, and it's incredible. I'm not going to really do that so much. I'm going to mostly just talk about how much I appreciate the way this band can do so much with what really is so little. They don't do anything super complex.
They're a 4-piece.
Yeah, they're a 4-piece. They don't do anything super complex, super technical, but the emotions they put into their songs and what they can drive just as that 4-piece is some kind of ridiculous. The anguish in I can't even whatever the hell is Adi's voice, I guess.
Lagneti.
Yeah.
The first song.
That was an incredible
Those
song.
howls.
Yeah. I mean, the title track is good too, from a similar regards. But
yeah,
it was just, it was a great listen. It was an incredible listen. Very artistic, very, I don't know, very raw, very just pure emotion. I loved it. I really did.
Yeah. It's 8 songs. It's just under an hour, and divided. There are 4 longer songs and 4 kind of shorter songs. And what I love is that on the longer ones, you'll have a certain feel for about 2/3 of it, and then they'll just switch it up into something different and really blow your mind with what isn't necessarily a terribly complex change. I think of like Lagneti, like the last 2 or 3 minutes of that song. Just develops a different kind of heaviness, a different kind of bleakness.
Yeah, it's almost like a little bit of a gallopy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with Otta, with the title track. It gets ever so slightly faster.
Right.
It's great.
Just enough to kind of like get your foot tapping a little bit, but still keep you, surrounded by the music. It's really interesting. But yeah, proceed.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. No, I really like Midegi too. This is probably the shoegaziest thing they have on this thing. Closest you'll come to I can't even call it mainstream appeal, but this is just a very, very catchy, like comparatively upbeat song compared to some of the rest of the album. All in all, Ota in general, it's just completely envelops you as a listener. It's one of the prettiest things I've heard all year, and this is a year that also gave us Alcest. This is I'm with you. This is right near the top of my list. It's wonderful.
I mean, honestly, that last point you made is one of the reasons I like this band so much. Is their sound does kind of like, you don't just listen to it, kind of does like pull you in a little bit. You kind of, not to sound like a complete, not to sound completely ridiculous here, but it does. Like you listen to this album, you kind of get immersed into it a little bit. Just like the sound of his voice and the way they use, their 4-piece and everything else. It is, like you said, it's enveloping. It's just a really cool element they have in their music, which is, one of the key appreciation points for them. So. Yeah, A+ there, guys.
Definitely. Again, the band is Solstafir. The album is Otta. It is out now. Check it out. Next up, I want to move into a new one from The Haunted called Exit Wounds. This is their first album in 3 years, and the first since they reunited with former lead singer Marco Aro, drummer Adrian Erlandson, who I think is legally obligated to be in literally every Swedish melodic death metal band at some point or another in his career.
Yeah.
Also bring in new guitarist Ola Englund. Exit Wounds. What'd you think of this one?
It was a little bit of a different direction from our last review. This is a band that's
it's blunter.
Yeah, I could say that. It actually, it was definitely some appreciated aggression from the listens this week. I gotta say that this is a band that's kind of always been in my spectrum, like in my peripheral vision as far as metal goes, but I never actually gave a flying fuck about. For a multitude of reasons, I never thought they were that good. I've heard like a single or two that they've done in the past. I mean, All Against All rings a bell. I think you've heard that one once or twice before as well. Never really.
That was actually the only other Haunted song I had heard before listening to this thing.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I heard that. It never did anything for me. So I just this was a band I just kind of knew existed but never cared about. I actually like this album, though. I mean, it wasn't super fantastic. It wasn't, all this like crazy, top 10 album of the year. Nothing like that. But it was a good listen. I mean,
it was solid.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, there were a lot of songs. Remember that much? What was it, like 15 songs, 14 songs?
Yeah, 14 or 15. Maybe a bit too long for its own good, but I've still, like at the same time.
They were short, though.
It all plays out. It all plays out in less than 45 minutes.
Right, exactly. I mean,
maybe you could have cut a few.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say it's weird because like as Solstafir only had 8 or 9 songs, all fairly long. It didn't seem that long of an album. This one had more songs, was way shorter of an album, like 10 plus minutes less time elapsed, but it felt a lot longer, which was just kind of weird.
I've heard worse paced albums this year though. I mean that will subtract some points, but it could have been a lot worse. I'm looking at you, Elvady. But
said that before.
No, I'm with you. I was not prepared to take this one seriously. As I mentioned before, my only real impression of The Haunted was All Against All, which featured ex-vocalist and whiny little shit Peter Dolving, who I just can't stand. To give you an idea, this is a proto Frankie Palmieri type. This is a guy who used to go on Blabbermouth and engage with fans who would like troll and post negative comments about The Haunted. Right. He would comment back, and like it's like, what are you doing, dude? Come on. Oh god. But now that he's gone, I don't mind. I liked it. I think the new lead guitar player Ola Englund came in really nicely. He and Patrick Jensen, the rhythm guy, work really well together. Yeah. There are quite a few highlights. I mean, again, I think I did mention 14 songs, maybe a little bit too long, but there's some good stuff here, like Cutting Teeth, Trend Killer I really liked. Psychonaut has an absolutely fantastic chorus. I really can't get enough of that thing. Yep.
I actually really liked Eye of the Storm as well.
Yeah.
There were definitely some good tracks on this, It's kind of funny. It's like they throw in the label. They throw it under like the mellow death category, a little bit of Gothenburg influence, but I almost get a little bit of a thrash feel to it. I get a little bit of like at times a little bit of a core element to it as well. They do some different stuff. It's not your traditional mellow death band as far as I'm concerned.
It's a nice hybrid. Yeah. I'm with you. Overall, yeah, I would say it's very enjoyable listen. Certainly enough to get me to want to look a little bit deeper into their back catalog, into their non-Peter Dolving back catalog, at least. But yeah, the album is called Exit Wounds. It's the new one from The Haunted. Check it out now. Next up, we have a... I can't even say this with a straight face. We have a new one from Hammerfall, for better or for worse.
Is Hearts on Fire on it? Is Hearts on Fire on it?
It is not.
Oh, then I
don't care. This one's called Revolution, but it's stylized R parentheses evolution.
Fuck you, Hammerfall.
Which is as close to the backwards R of Korn as we're gonna get, I think. You know what? I know. I realize it's a little bit rich for me to be on here making fun of Hammerfall after I, like, not 2 weeks ago featured them in a stage dive post, talking about an album that I shouldn't love, but I do, I think was the topic. I can't remember.
Like that,
I will still defend their album Legacy of Kings to the death. I fucking love that album. But the trouble with Hammerfall is they have not really expanded on their sound all that much. And so in 2014, Legacy of Kings came out in 1998. And in 2014, I'm left here wondering, why is Hammerfall still a thing? They've just really been coasting on this sound for so long. And it hits every power metal cliche in the book.
I mean, all of them.
It's
all of them.
It's just kind of stupid, like I'm not going to pretend I'm like terribly offended by anything here. I mean, it's harmless.
It's just dumb. Like, really.
It's dumb. There's a song called Live Life Loud whose chorus consists of those 3 words over and over again.
See, I wasn't aware of that because as we began this recording session, I had just started listening to this album. And I think I got through 3 songs, and as is per usual with bands that I don't give a shit about, I was completely distracted by doing other things and just had them on in the background. So I'm glad you shared that with me, actually.
Yep. There's also a song called Winter is Coming, because of course there is. I mean, the band has made their love for Game of Thrones known. They named one of their old albums after one of the family slogans from the series. This is just so... Like, in all the ways that... And I hate that I do this, and I know this is reductive, and I don't want to compare every power metal band to Blind Guardian, but I have to. In the ways that in the ways that Blind Guardian can take power metal cheese and make it totally work for them and continue to grow and evolve as a band, Hammerfall is like stuck in this rut like AC/DC and Motorhead, but without anywhere near the flair or the substance of the foundational sound.
Right. I mean,
and I don't want to say like this thing isn't a total loss. I mean, I liked Bushido. X and Ferris wasn't bad either. It kind of reminded me of At the End of the Rainbow, a little bit darker, but it's so cheesy. It's so mediocre.
I don't know why people like these guys. I'd say so much, but I really want to say at all. I mean, it's like I can't remember
Valid.
how it was described to me at Vakken when I was watching them. Well, I wasn't watching with them. I was watching this drunk kid, get his pulse checked in front of me. I don't like. They keep this like they keep the same tempo every song. They keep the same structure every song. The vocals are mediocre at best. I don't know. Just you can't just pump cheese for the sake of punching cheese. You gotta.
The vocals sound like balls in Vice. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
here.
that's okay. Fine. I was being, I guess, a little polite, but no, you're right.
Joaquin Cans is quite the girly man.
Yeah.
When it comes to singing, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly, like I said, I didn't get through much of this album, and I can promise you, I'm not going to go back and listen to this. This is all you're going to get from me out of this thing going forward.
Yeah, I don't know that it's one I'll be revisiting either. But if you're interested in revisiting it, number one, I pity you. But
and number two, don't.
Second, I was going to say number two, the album is called R parentheses Evolution. I'm just going to call it that. I'm not going to say Revolution.
R parentheses Evolution.
R parentheses Evolution. And yeah, it's the, I believe, 9th or 10th album of same-sounding Hammerfall songs. So
that video that came out, the greatest hit from Disturbed, where it was just like one song, which was like all the songs they sold, then they fake advertising it for like 2 albums. You know what I'm talking about? Please tell me you've seen this.
Yep.
This is kind of along the same lines for me. If they could do the same thing for Hammerfall, and I hope they do actually.
They could. To their credit, at least they didn't include a song on here with the word hammer in it. They're growing ever so slightly. Baby steps.
I'm sure it was in the lyrical content though.
Oh man. Wrapping up, we're going to get into one that actually came out last week. We had recorded our discussion about it last week, but it ended up falling victim to the Lost episode that we discussed earlier. Couldn't not touch on this though in an actual episode. It's the new one from Opeth. It's Pale Communion. Corey, what'd you think of this thing?
Well, it was kind of funny actually. When I found out that we probably weren't going to be airing our previous recording just due to time constraints, et cetera, like I said, we're busy human beings. You guys didn't miss much anyway. I said, okay, good. This is a good thing. It gives me an extra few days to kind of go back and revisit this Opeth thing. Maybe, I'll gain more of an appreciation to it. I'll just sit down and listen to it. I'll, whatever I need to do. And, that came and that thought went, and I never went back and listened to it again, despite the added week of opportunity. So,
see, and I had the opposite effect. I listened to it a little bit more over the course of that extra week. And while I still don't love it, I've grown to appreciate parts of it a little bit more than I did initially.
Well, that's good news. I'll be seeing these guys in a couple months. It'd be nice if it didn't completely suck.
See, I don't know. It was one thing when they went around on a Heritage and it was the first time out and they still played some old stuff and Mastodon was there and Ghost was there. But this one, this tour is Opeth and In Flames.
Yeah.
Neither of whom are on their best foot forward right about now.
Well, the best I can say about that is
anyway, we're digressing a little bit.
Yeah, a little
Talking about Pale Communion. I'm like I said, I'm still not nuts about it. For the same reasons I wasn't nuts about Heritage. It's not bad. It's just not what I want when I listen to Opeth. There's a lot of cool stuff here. It's just overall not really my thing. Does it matter? No. Michael Ackerfeld doesn't owe us shit at this point. He's earned the right to make whatever kind of record he wants to make. Meh.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I kind of touched on this before when listening to this album. I mean, the thing about Opeth is I think Michael Lagerfeld to an extent has earned the right to kind of just pump out whatever music he wants to. Will it necessarily be my cup of tea? Probably not. I mean, there were certain aspects, and just reflecting now on my first listen to this album, my first and only listen to this album, there were moments I definitely thought were kind of cool. Like, I thought the sound was pretty cool, no question about it. Like, they did some really good stuff. Obviously, they're talented people, and there were moments where I was extremely impressed by the music. Not necessarily my thing, but, you know, maybe there was enough there for me to kind of go back and give it another shot to. And, you know, fuck, I may as well familiarize myself if I'm going to see him in a couple months, you know. But, whatever.
Yeah.
Opeth will Opeth.
I will say, Cusp of Eternity is still one of my favorite tracks by anyone this year. Love Cusp of Eternity. Eternal Rains Will Come has grown on me. I like Goblin. And the first part of the river is kind of cool too, in sort of a almost like folky prog kind of way.
Nice.
But then it goes on a little bit too long. And that's a common problem on this thing. Like, some of the songs just go on and on.
Sure.
And on. And, you know, it drags it down a bit. I don't regret listening to this thing, but in general, I mean, my sentiment is still, you know, give me Blackwater Park or Still Life any day.
Yeah, by all means. By all means.
Or Ghost Reveries.
I love Ghost Reveries.
Watershed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But overall, I think it's worth listening to. I you know, it's whether it's your thing or not. You know, Opeth's a band that has earned at least a listen, I would say.
Oh, for sure.
Check it out now, Pale Communion. It's been out. It's been out for about a week now, but it's on Spotify, so you know what to do. That'll do it for new releases this week. Let's, as is our wont, let's move into some old releases. We're going to do retrospectives now. Corey, what do you got this week?
Well, this is an album that I recently managed to receive in the mail because, again, ordering stuff. You know, actually, the nice thing about that whole Vakken trip was I got a lot of deposits back on stuff, like my tent, some travel things I didn't break. So it really just went to my PayPal account. I was like, oh, CD money.
There you go.
So this is one that came in recently for me, one of a few, and I'll touch on the other ones in the episodes to come. This is a band I've covered before in retrospectives, but this is going back way further. Going with Catatonia. And the album I've kicked back to is Discouraged Ones, which came out late April 1998. So we're talking, you know, 17 years now, 16 and a half, whatever. Now, when I first saw these guys live, they opened for Devin Townsend. Dan, you were at that show.
Yes, sir.
And I was, you know, I liked the Catatonia sound. It was different. You know, I had listened to literally zero of these guys beforehand. You know, kind of on purpose. Same thing I did with Caveller Talk. You never know what band you're going to take a liking to simply by their performance. So I just left it as it was. And the only song that, I mean, I like their sound, but the only song that really kind of stuck with me was Dead House, which was really going back in time for them during that show. And that was off this record. Third track on the album. I still like that song a lot. It's really cool. But as a whole, I know these guys are kind of referred to as like the masters of the morose, you know, really melancholy, almost like a doomy feel to melodic death metal, and this is just, I think, the album that defines that kind of label. It's really awesome. It's really awesome. The production's a little bit raw. You know, that's probably just, you know, due to 1998 melodic death metal, you know, whatever, but it almost works for it. It's definitely somber, and there's no real technicality to many of the songs, but there's a catchiness to them. There's definitely, you know, a layered emotion to them, and it was the last album where Jonas, I think Rensky's how you pronounce his last name, it's the last album where he played the drums and did vocals, and he does a lot of different things vocally than he's done on any album, you know, since like 2007, for example. It's really cool. It really is. It clocks in just under an hour, so it kind of, or actually, if you don't have the extended version, it's only about 46 minutes, so it comes and goes pretty quickly. I love it. I mean, yeah. Go for it.
Now,
What were you gonna say?
this was their first album post Brave Murder Day, right?
Yes, it was. Brave Murder Day came out in 1996. They released an EP in 1997 called Sounds of Decay, and then Discouraged One was the first full length after Brave Murder Day.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is. I mean, I was always so impressed from because I've listened to Discouraged Ones quite a bit, and I was always so impressed because Brave Murder Day is doom, but it's very much death doom. I mean, you have
Yes, it is.
You have just you have the growled vocals and everything, and Discouraged Ones is a pretty dramatic sonic change, but they pull it off so well, and it's like over a 1 album span.
Right.
I
Less
was
than
always
2 years,
impressed.
Really.
Right. I was always so impressed that they were able to move like from one sound to a completely different sound in consecutive albums and pull it off so well.
Right.
And they've kept it up very well. I mean, that very much laid the the template for contemporary Catatonia at this point.
And by the way, touching on something we just finished covering, those growling vocals on Brave Murder Day, Michael Ackerfeld.
By Michael Ackerfeld. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Knew about that. Yeah. So, I was that's one thing that always stood out to me about Discouraged Ones. Aside from the fact that it's just a really kick-ass album. So
yeah, I don't know what it is about this band. I just in the past couple of years, I just took a really strong liking to them. It's just they're my change of pace band, I guess you could call them. Something about their sound, just their ambient friggin' gothic rock, doom metal, melancholy, morose, whatever. It just really kind of struck a chord with me, and I just find myself going back to them over and over again. And this is definitely the album that kind of summarizes what I like about them, really. So I'm glad it's on my shelf finally at long last.
Yeah. There you go. Well, good choice on that front. Mine, gonna go in a little bit of a different direction. I went with Immortals All Shall Fall.
Just a pit.
This week. Their 2009 reunion album. I mean, I love the album. Don't get me wrong, but I almost appreciate this thing more for remembering like where I was when I first heard it. It was like our junior year at Syracuse. Immortal had been broken up for several years, then got back together, toured, came back with this thing, and I was excited, but this thing fully justified my excitement. I can remember the first time I listened to it, I was in Bird Library at Syracuse and had to drop whatever work I was working on just to listen to this thing and to focus on this thing, because I was so amazed at how good a comeback it was. I mean, this thing just kicks an ass. I mean, you've got amazing production from Peter Takrin, co-production, I should say.
Sure.
Who, is just like gold as a producer, obviously.
Yep.
You've got just it's 7 songs of just absolute ass kicking. I mean, you open with All Shall Fall, then you go into The Rise of Darkness. I mean, that's as good a 1-2 punch, album opening punch as
really.
I've heard in the last 10 years. Hordes to War, Mount North. I mean, this is just a searing, just ridiculously good album. And Abath is one of my favorite people. This was just, I mean, this lived up to my excitement about the reunion and then some. And I'm just now realizing this thing is almost 5 years old. We need some new Immortal.
Agreed.
They need to get on this, but
it's.
I was gonna say, I don't know that it's my favorite Immortal album, but it's one that I will always hold dear because it's quite wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of funny. I remember when this album came out, and you were understandably so about it, and it honestly took me a while to actually sit down and give this thing a listen. I mean, despite the reviews, despite how much of a good rep it got from my friends and you and everybody else, I don't know. I was skeptical for so long. Just 7 years removed, recent Immortal album, I think it was 7 years. It just seemed like too long, and it was, well, let's be fair, around the same time I discovered Agalock, so there's that. But it took me almost a full year to actually sit down and this thing through, and yeah, man, it's some of the best shit I've heard in years. It really is, and I go back to it constantly. I really do. I don't know. I need to see the Eighth Ass on tour somewhere in the near future. I will be upset.
Yes.
But yeah, good choice there. Definitely an awesome listen. Just aggressive as shit.
Yeah, no doubt. Immortal, All Shall Fall. That is my retrospective for the week. So with that, let's close this thing down. Let's move into our horns up and horns down for the week. Corey, what do you got for horns up? What have you been liking this week?
Well, last week, if we had aired the episode, my horns up would have been the Tough Mudder, or horns down, depending on your perspective. But this past weekend, actually, I was down in Boston visiting some friends and, doing my Boston thing like I do half my week. And looking for something to do on Sunday. We didn't feel like doing anything. We we were hungover, so we didn't want to do any bar type situations. That was not going to happen. So we actually ventured. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with this, but it's like the Body Worlds exhibit, where this artist actually takes human body parts from all of your systems. Your skeletal, your skeleton, basically.
Everything just breaks everything down and reducts the human body in these various poses and forms as like an exhibit. And they had one of these Body Worlds exhibits in Boston, second floor of Quincy Market. And I believe I've taken you to Quincy Market once before because, well, when you're in Boston and you're not from Boston, you fucking have to. It's where we got the clam chowder that one time.
Yeah.
Fucking that place.
Yes, I do remember this.
A pain in the ass. Anyway, so so I went and checked it out, and it was really, really freaking cool. I mean, it was creepy as shit. Like, it really is. Like, everybody's silent. It's kind of dimly lit. It breaks down, what the body's composed of, and it kind of, like, reconstructs them and deconstructs them and then reconstructs them. Like, the first few things you see are, like, the skeletons in various poses, just standing there, maybe in, like, a sitting motion something. You'll move into the skeleton with like tendons and ligaments attaching the bones, and there'll be poses in like a runner's pose or a football player, baseball player thing. Then they keep building up. Then they add the muscles. Then they add your bloodstream, your circulatory system. Then they add like your internal organs, lungs, everything else, your brain, your eyes, and eventually it's pretty much everything but the skin. And they show like hockey players in motion. They show all this crazy stuff. Which is really intriguing, really kind of creepy, definitely metal. I remember there was one piece that I thought was really cool. I had to take a picture of it where it was just the bones and just the circulatory system. Really, really creepy stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was something else. And you don't think about when you're going through this, you just kind of see these like sculptures. You're like, oh yeah, that's what that looks like. And then it kind of hits you every couple of minutes where you're like, these are actual body parts. Like some guy actually used body parts, people, to construct these.
Yeah.
It's a trip. It really is. So I encourage anybody that gets an opportunity to kind of do one of these exhibits to definitely check it out. So I wanted to share that as my horns up. Definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. I've been meaning to check out one of those exhibits for years now. I mean,
yeah.
I remember they featured in there was a like a subplot involving a Body Worlds exhibit in Miami in Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And I remember like that was my first exposure to this, and I was like, holy shit, I need to go check this thing out.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely worth it.
It's on my list. It's a bucket list item.
Nice.
So nice. My horns up for the week, of course, going on sale this Friday. We are recording this on a Wednesday, so if you're listening to this, it may be today. It may also be yesterday. Point being, this week, Maryland Death Fest 2015 tickets went on sale.
Yep.
I know you and me are going all in. We're going balls deep in MDF, doing the 4-day all access pass. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
I'm fired up. I'm actually really excited too. I mean, if it's like $280, I mean, yeah, you could call that expensive. It's in Vakken, it's one of those European multi-day festivals. But the fact of the matter is, the number of good bands there this year, and just for the sake of peace of mind and just making our lives easy and giving us access to everything, knowing we won't miss anything,
Oh, All In's the way to go. I'm so fired up about it. I can't wait till Friday.
For newer listeners, we have done the 2015 will be Corey and I's third MDF in a row, but we've only ever done single day tickets. A couple of single day tickets. We did like Friday, Saturday one year. We did Friday, Sunday this past year. But this is going to be the complete MDF experience. So very much looking forward to that. Maryland Death Fest is going to, it's quickly become a tradition, and why not go all in this year, especially with bands like Amorphous and Napalm Death and Sodom and you name it.
Triptychon still.
Neurosis. Triptychon. Yeah. This is going to be wonderful. Wonderful. So, that's my horns up. What about horns down? What do you got? What's been pissing you off this week?
Well, in a similar light, and I won't say it's necessarily pissing me off. I mean, there are a lot of things that are pissing me off because I'm me and this is my life and I'm an angry person. Just putting that to the side for the moment. No, I'm not a sarcastic asshole at all. Never. Putting all that aside for the moment, in all fairness, I don't really have a reason to be upset or pissed off about anything. Things are pretty damn good. But the fact of the matter is, the one thing I won't be doing next year, and I know I talked about this, I don't know if I actually talked about this last week, because I think this was when the episode we didn't air. Yes, this is correct, actually. That was a nice little monologue I had with myself, so now I'm going to go back and talk to you guys, viewers. Wow. Anyway, so...
Schizo.
Words, and not doing them. So it was brought to my attention after I had put myself back on the Wacken waiting list for 2015 that I was going to be entitled to another ticket if I chose to purchase it. I kind of weighed the pluses and minuses of it, and when push came to shove, unfortunately, for obvious reasons, I won't be going back to Wacken in 2015. I made a decision for a couple of reasons. One, I'm kind of still high on the fact that I went this year, and I want to, enjoy that moment and enjoy the appreciation of what I've done, and the fact that I actually got there a little bit longer before just planning another one. I feel like it would take away from that first experience a little bit. Secondly, I don't want to say it's done because that makes it sound like I'm almost apathetic to the fact I did it, but in essence, there's other shit I want to do, and I don't want to do the same thing 2 years in a row when the list is as long as it is for me. So that's crossed off the list. I will definitely be going back to Wacken. There's just some other stuff I want to get done beforehand. That being said, I am not going to Wacken in 2015. Sad face. Instead, I'm going to plan to go to Norway at some point in June and stay with my family up in the Arctic Circle for a week or two. So that's a nice little trade-off.
Nice.
But sadly, no Wacken.
I guess if you're missing out on Wacken, it's not, if you have to settle for Norway, I guess you'll survive.
Yeah, remember that whole thing? I don't really have a really pissed off or upset. Woe is me going to Norway instead of Wacken and not both. Sad.
Right.
What lives we
That'll
lead,
be
Dan?
fun,
What
though.
shitty lives we lead. So I'm thinking about doing something like that because fucking eventually I'll run to Solstafir over there. Eventually, right? So
And it'll be less awkward than when you ran into him at MDF.
I'll wear the same shirt and approach them the exact same way. Just point to him and walk.
And then he won't be like, oh yeah, hey, I gotta go, bye.
I'm pretty sure he spoke to me in Icelandic that day, and he knew very well that I had no idea what he was saying. Pretty sure it wasn't an accident.
That was fun. You know what? None of that matters because shit, we got to talk to John Hamm for like a solid 2 minutes.
He's not a very nice person. He was nice. Like he let me.
But
take
he
a
was
picture with-
accommodating. You could tell he didn't want to be chatting with us, but he did. And more power to him.
Right. No, exactly. You could tell he wasn't. Well, that's the best way to put it. You can tell he wasn't that into any conversation. But the fact of the matter is, he was accommodating. He was willing to, please fans. Obviously, we're there because we like his music and we're there supporting him. So obviously, he's not gonna be a dick about it. But it wasn't like he wasn't being an asshole to me. He didn't say anything mean to me or anything. It was just what he said was kind of like sarcastic, which I thought was kind of funny. I was talking to him. We're trying to talk to him about the Winter's Coming Fest I saw a few years back. And I'll be honest, Winter's Coming Fest, I had a blast. But no offense to the folks that ran that, and I had a great time, and it was awesome. The venue was kind of a shithole, and and the bands really weren't treated that well. The type of thing where Agalock would ask, like John Hamm actually asked for a water, and somebody told him to go get it at the bar,
And I'm just like, no, that's not how this works. So I told him, like, hey man, long time no see. I saw you guys at Winter's Coming Fest. I want to let you know that the album you signed for me is still hanging on my wall, and I really appreciate it. And he's like, oh yeah, no problem, man. That show sucked. And then I proceed to tell him that it was kind of unique. That place went out of business. Was like, oh yeah, good. That was the end of the conversation, which I thought was fucking hilarious. But whatever.
Oh man, John Hamm, wonderful human being.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, my horns down for the week. I don't know if it's this bad up by you. It probably is, but this late summer heat wave that we've been getting, dear God, it is gross all of a sudden. After what was really a mild summer, all things considered. Like yesterday, we were in the 90s. Today was the high 80s. I mean, we're not supposed to even go back down to the 70s until this weekend. It's like, what the hell? We're into September.
Yeah.
I'd prefer for my clothes not to stick to myself in sweat.
It's really, really gross. I'm really not excited about it. Obviously, probably not nearly as bad where I am as where you are. That's just the way the world works. More, busier, more
geography.
Duh. Plus, just further south. So obviously, for a million reasons, it's probably way worse than where you are. But it sucks. It sucks to shower at night and in the morning, and then still be sweating again within an hour. Either way.
The worst for me is like because I go to the gym before work and I put all of my clothes into a backpack. And this backpack, when I put it on, even if I have an undershirt on, this backpack rubs up against me and it just causes me to start sweating. Like it's just the friction. I just start to perspire. And so even if I've just taken a shower and I'm totally clean, by the time I get to work, having had this backpack on, even on the cool subway, the air-conditioned subway, I'm still like, I have a little bit of a sweat stain going down my back. It's the worst.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's like cool off, please.
Yeah.
Please. Just, I want some 60s weather.
Fall's my favorite. I mean, it really is.
No doubt.
But whatever. Hopefully tomorrow's a little better, being in the city and whatnot, and for other reasons that I think we're about to get into momentarily. But I'm with you there. This sticky weather. Now that it's September, I just want my fall. I really do. I love fall, and I'm ready for it. Let's get the ball rolling here.
I am with you. I am with you there. At any rate, that's my horns down. God damn this weather. So that will about wrap us up for this week, but got a couple of things we're looking out for in the next few days for each of us. A couple of shows on the horizon, do we not?
That is correct. I actually, tomorrow, or as to the internet world, either 1 or 2 days previous, will be attempting to see. I say this because it never
depending on your understanding of the space-time continuum.
Right, exactly. Allegaon is tomorrow in Boston, in Brighton to be specific. I'm going to attempt to go. I don't know where the fuck this venue is. I don't know how accessible it is from subways, et cetera. But that is tomorrow, Brighton Music Hall. I am planning on going, and what's really entertaining is I will be going in a suit because, from work. The last time I tried to go to a show after work on a Thursday, in Boston, I brought spare clothes, and I left all my crap in the office, only to find out after the show at midnight I could not get back into my office to retrieve said clothes and office supplies. And this wouldn't normally be a problem, except that I'm only in Boston on Thursdays. So that means all the shit I need to do my job on Friday in Portsmouth, I could not access. So... aside from sleeping, and then of course the last time I tried to go to a show in Boston, I never actually made it to the show. So we'll see how it goes.
That was the what was that? The septic flesh and flesh god.
Flesh god, yeah, the septic flesh god apocalypse. Which not that no real loss there. Sorry guys, I've seen it before. But I would like to see Allegaon. They're not the headliner, which means I'll actually be out of the show probably pretty early. I'm thinking before 11, which is like an A+ situation for me.
Well, yeah, because you have an early start on Boston days.
Well, I have an early start. Yeah, exactly. I generally leave the house about 4:45 on Thursday mornings. I'm in Boston. I don't know, usually before 6:30, 6:45-ish. And traditionally, if I don't do anything, I will be home 7 or 8 p.m. Usually I meet up with at least a couple friends for drinks or dinner after work, and it's usually more like 10 or 11. If I go to a show, it's more like 2 or 3 a.m. So if this show is out by like 10:30 and I can get the 11 o'clock home and be home by 12:30, that would just be fucking fantastic.
Well,
details.
Fingers crossed on that front. I'm actually missing that show. That show is in New York. They're at Santos Party House right as we speak, as we record this on Wednesday. But it was a late show, so I was not going to be able to get out of there any kind of convenient time if I had decided to get tickets. So I will catch Alligator another time. Where there's a will, there's a way. However, on Saturday, I have Fucked Up at Irving Plaza. It's going to be Fucked Up, Speedy Ortiz, and I forget who else is playing, but love Fucked Up. This will be, I think I mentioned before, this will be my third time seeing them in a year and a half. Nice. They always put on a good show. Damien Pink Eyes is one of my favorite people in music, heavy music or otherwise. And Glass Boys, the album they put out earlier this year was pretty kick-ass. So this will be a fun show.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it. But we will certainly have updates for you in next week's episodes from those shows. Nice return to concert reviews. But yeah, for now, that will about do it. Want to give you guys a quick note. We are going to be in the process of changing our hosting server for the podcast, getting a new RSS feed, things like that. And we are going to be importing our files from our current server, Podbean, over to Libsyn. To do this and to cut down on costs, we're going to be deleting some of our back episodes from the podcast or from the RSS feed from iTunes. So if you want to listen to those on iTunes, do it now. They won't be there much longer. We will, of course, keep them up on YouTube and everything and keep you posted as to our new feed and everything so that you can subscribe going forward. Mentioned iTunes. We are on that. We are on Stitcher. We are on Podbean for now, not for much longer. It'll soon be Libsyn. Just search for the Horns Up Podcast. You'll find us. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Facebook.com/Horns Up Podcast. Twitter @HornsUpPodcast. We love engaging with you on those platforms. So get at us, especially Facebook. We need y'all on Facebook.
Yeah, get the Facebook thing going, folks, for real talk.
But for now, that'll wrap us up. Again, this is episode 20. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. We appreciate your company. And remember, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.